Anthropic in this article wanted to talk about a specific attack that they found that was using Claude. So we're going to talk about it. Here's how it worked. The human operator provides a list of targets. Now, I'm not going to just go into how they get targets. For everybody, please know almost all breaches nowadays are human caused. There are definitely very high resourced, very good attackers, maybe foreign governments, maybe very, very dedicated attacker organizations. I use that term loosely, but they're starting to behave more like them because they are better funded with Bitcoin. There are people out there with the resources to actually, hack. When you're thinking Angelina Jolie in changing the lights on the building and hackers, that kind of stuff. But please, if you don't hear anything else from this conversation, put down your sandwich, look at the other monitor for a second. Humans are the weak link. It is dramatically easier to find human targets than it is to find like holes in computer software that aren't already plugged. We have pretty good protection right now technologically. Either way, the human provides these targets, most likely compromised accounts or software that shouldn't be running that a human installed, et cetera, et cetera. And all they're doing is providing a list that's gathered from somewhere. The AI then scans for those targets for accessibility and analyzes publicly available code or endpoints. Give me an 18 in chat if you know what an API is. So, as always, I'll tell the people that don't. Thank you for the participation. I do appreciate that. Keeps my energy level up. An API is an accessible endpoint where I can make programmatic, so code-based, like actual code, queries, and it'll give me information back. It's another interface into a program. Like what you're used to is like a web page getting you in. There are ways to use scripting and coding and typing to do these things. Sometimes those are available publicly. Sometimes it's a software flaw. Sometimes it's a compromised account. Sometimes it's Team Viewer that you didn't know was installed. And very, very commonly, it's the Internet of Things. If you take nothing else away from this, again, put your sandwich down for 1 second. IoT stands for the Internet of Things. The letter S in IoT stands for security. Yeah? Got it? Okay. So once we have scanned for the publicly accessible code and endpoints, the human reviews the results. Right? Oh, we want these, we don't want these, etc. I want to make a point here about being too small during this human phase. So give me a 19 in chat, please, if you've ever known anyone, or you yourself right now, are too small for the attackers to care about, or you've heard that logic before. Fewer. Okay, appreciate that. So we get this occasionally, everybody, and what we get is, I'm too small. That would presume that the attackers would get into your system, spend a bunch of time analyzing who you are and how big you are and like your market cap, and go, oh, this isn't worth our time. That logic doesn't hold up to scrutiny, because they're just going to figure out how big to ask. We've had a florist get caught for $15,000. That's business ending. We also had a very large firm get caught for like $2.5 million. Less business ending. We're just talking demand size here, everybody. We're not talking whether it's worth their time. Remember, not all these attackers are coming from like San Francisco Bay Area, right? Probably very few of them. Probably not zero. Some of them are coming from countries with a much lower standard of living where a $15,000 payday is maybe several years worth of salary. It's very much worth their time. So in this case, the human reviews the results, determines what's a valid and invalid attack, not whether it's valuable or not to do the attack. And this happened. This is not an attack that's theoretical. This is what happened. Then once the human reviews the results and puts in the correct targets, the AI then scans the targets for said vulnerabilities for the code that they found, anything publicly available, and attempts to automatically exploit them. So what you're looking at here is, instead of a human going, okay, what version of the firewall is this? Oh gosh, give me a 20 in chat if you've heard any of our communications in the last year about getting rid of VPNs. Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys. I was worried about that. So, for example, remote access VPNs, SSL. I'm not talking about like NordVPN or SurfEasy. I'm talking about like your Cisco AnyConnect to get into your office, or your SonicWall, or your Fortinet. Those VPNs have had quite a bit of flaw recently. It's been a rough couple of years for all VPN vendors. Last year was bad for SonicWall. The year before was bad for Fortinet. AI can look at these endpoints, determine the version of the VPN that's listening, right? Research on publicly available databases any kind of flaw on that VPN and immediately try to automatically exploit it in seconds, right? So that's what we're doing here. That's a really salient example of it. It's not the only one, but it's a good one. Okay, this is a Open Cisco AnyConnect on version XYZ. It says right here on this website, there are publicly available databases of exploits. They're good guy things that the bad guys use too. You scan automatically, right? So the AI then determines what's exploitable, what succeeded. Human, here's my list. So the human reviews it. And then once you're in, the AI does exploits to perform internal recon and validates data access. And I have italicized internal for a couple of slides from now. So there's your teaser. Stick with me on that. And the AI automatically exfiltrates data. Here's your link again. Point at this. Humans all they did was provide a list and review results and then review results again. Didn't have to code anything. Didn't have to tack anything. Didn't have to know about Telnet or SSH or any other cool things we know, maybe cats, all the terms you might have heard of from us hacker type people. They just know, ooh, somebody made this for me. Back in the early 2000s, we used to call these script kiddies. Give me a 21 if you've heard that and you're also dating yourself. A script kiddie is effectively someone who doesn't really know what they're running and doing, but they have a script that does attacky things, and so they go for it. What this does is dramatically lower the barrier to entry to actual technical exploits, right? So you don't need to have someone who's being paid $300,000 a year as a white hat hacker that turned bad, or someone who spent their entire life learning to exploit and code and break into systems. What you're getting now is someone who knows how to run a script that a smarter person wrote for them. That's my concern with AI attacks. And everybody, it's not going to get better.